For today's project, I'm starting out by drawing the biggest rectangle onto my tag. I'm staying away from the edges as I will be covering it later on using modeling paste, but for now I need some guidelines as where my rectangle will be. The stencil I'm using is called Rectangles and it's by France Papillon. I'm using this Deco Art chalky finish paint called Primitive to lay down my first layer of color. To do so, I'm mixing it with a bit of water so it can run down on my paper, and I'm using some water to guide it down too. By tilting my paper, I can guide it in other directions. And when I'm happy with my layer, I'll repeat this at the top of my rectangle too. It's time to give my rectangle some dimension, so I'm laying down my stencil again. As my paper isn't completely flat, I'm taping it down to help me prevent the modeling paste to get underneath. While my paste is drying, I've used my stencil to make a heart. I simply traced the heart onto some cardboard and then I've cut it out. I covered it with some gesso, and this second layer of gesso is going to give me some texture, as I'm applying it by tapping the gesso onto the heart using a palette knife instead of a brush. I even want more texture, so I'm also laying down a tiny bit of the modeling paste in little areas. I'm covering up my heart with the antiquing cream, and when it's dry I will be removing part of it again using a damp cloth and my fingers. That way you'll be able to see all the texture that is going on there. My paste has dried, so it's time to paint it. I'm going in with a first layer of the color Primitive, and then I'll give it a coat of the color Artifact. I don't want my rectangle to look completely flat, so using a damp cloth, I'm taking away parts of my top layer of paint to reveal the layer underneath. I want my rectangle to stand out more, so I'm using a black charcoal pencil and later on a black water-soluble marker to give it some shading. For my words, I'm using the Illusionary Artist set Perfect Words by France Papillon. I'll be using the love always, but I want to use them separately. So I'm masking off each word and I'm stamping them on separate papers to be cut out.